Deep within the architecture of the human mind lies a survival mechanism forged in the prehistoric wilderness, where every rustling bush signaled a potential predator lurking just beyond the reach of our sight. This ancient system prioritizes immediate reaction over careful analysis, as our ancestors learned that assuming danger was a safer bet than assuming safety when survival hung in the balance of a single heartbeat. In the modern world, this biological wiring remains unchanged, misinterpreting benign triggers like a delayed text message or a brief pause in conversation as existential threats that demand our immediate and total defensive focus. Because the brain abhors ambiguity, it instinctively fills informational gaps with worst case scenarios, a defensive habit that once prevented fatal oversights but now fuels unnecessary anxiety in our quiet, safe, and modern lives. We find ourselves trapped in a loop where the brain treats a manager's email with the same physiological urgency as a stalking tiger, forcing the body into a state of chronic stress despite the absence of any genuine physical danger to our survival, leaving us exhausted by our own internal alarms. This tendency to assume the worst is a vestige of a time when a wrong positive guess could cost a human their life, while a wrong negative guess cost only a few wasted seconds. Consequently, our minds default to catastrophic thinking, painting vivid pictures of failure from mere shadows of evidence. A simple, ambiguous moment, like a friend walking past without waving, quickly transforms into a narrative of a ruined friendship, as the brain frantically connects random dots to build a complete, fearful story. These connecting lines are often imaginary, drawn by a mind desperate to find order in the unknown, yet we treat these self constructed narratives as absolute truths, reinforcing our internal cycle of doubt and worry. There is a profound difference between constructive thinking and the paralyzing loop of repetitive, circular overthinking. True thinking moves toward a concrete next step, whereas overthinking jumps ahead to react to hypothetical outcomes. It feels productive because the mind is active, like a rocking chair that moves constantly but never actually changes position, consuming vast amounts of mental energy while achieving absolutely no progress at all. Those gifted with vivid imaginations are often more prone to this pattern, as the same creative spark that generates brilliant ideas can just as easily conjure up elaborate, terrifying scenarios of future failure. The mental skill itself is not the problem, rather, it is the direction in which that skill is pointed that creates the turmoil, turning a powerful tool into a source of constant internal distress. Overthinking often disguises itself as preparation, whispering that considering every negative outcome makes us more ready, but in practice, most of these imagined problems never manifest in the reality of our daily lives. Yet, the body continues to react to these mental scenarios as if they were tangible, immediate threats, producing physical stress hormones that leave us feeling drained despite the absence of any actual danger. To interrupt this cycle, we must learn to apply three simple grounding questions to our racing thoughts. First, we must ask, what do I actually know? Not what is feared, but confirmed objective facts. In most overthinking situations, we find that very little is actually known and everything else is assumption. Second, we must ask, can anything be done about this right now? If yes, take decisive action. If no, then additional thinking will not produce a solution, and we must accept the need for patience while waiting for more information to emerge rather than forcing a conclusion that does not exist. Third, we must ask, will this matter in a year? Many moments that feel urgent and serious in the heat of the moment are quickly forgotten even by the person who experienced the distress. Not every thought a brain produces needs to be examined, analyzed, or believed as an absolute truth. A thought can be noticed and then left alone, much like a digital notification that does not require an immediate response just because it appeared on the screen of our conscious, busy, active mind. Overthinking is not a personality flaw or a sign of weakness, but a byproduct of a protective system built for physical danger being applied to the complex, nuanced interactions of our modern social world. The system is not broken, it is simply reacting to modern problems using instinct designed for survival. By recognizing this, we can begin to detach from the urgency of our own internal ancient alarms. We learn to observe the mind's tendency to worry without becoming a prisoner to its frantic predictions. This shift in perspective allows us to reclaim our calm, choosing to focus on the present moment. We stop drawing lines between random dots and start seeing the space between them as neutral ground. The brain will continue to scan for threats, but we can choose which signals to actually acknowledge. We become the gatekeepers of our own mental peace, filtering out the noise of unnecessary imagined fears. This process requires practice, as we are essentially retraining a system that has been active for millennia. Yet, with each intentional pause, we weaken the hold that these prehistoric instincts have over our lives. We find that clarity often lies in the stillness, not in the frantic search for hidden meanings. The world is rarely as dangerous as our ancient brains suggest, and we are capable of resilience. By questioning our assumptions, we dismantle the narratives that keep us trapped in cycles of chronic stress. We move from a state of constant reaction to a state of conscious, deliberate, and thoughtful living. The survival mechanism remains, but it no longer dictates the quality of our daily, modern existence today. We are free to experience life as it unfolds rather than as we fear it might happen. The quiet strength of the present moment becomes our anchor against the storms of our own imagination. We are finally at peace with the reality of our own minds, balanced, calm, and fully present. To break free from this cycle of overthinking, one must distinguish between productive problem solving and the aimless agitation of a mind stuck in a rocking chair, constantly moving forward. The key lies in recognizing that imagination, while a creative gift, often acts as a double edged sword that constructs elaborate negative narratives from thin air, clouding our true perception. By applying three grounding questions: what is factually known, what can be acted upon, and whether the issue will matter in a year, we can effectively bypass the alarmist instincts. These questions serve as a cognitive filter, stripping away the layers of unnecessary, primitive fear. This process requires treating intrusive thoughts like digital notifications that do not demand our attention. We can choose to silence these alerts rather than granting them the power of belief. Ultimately, understanding that our stress is not a personal failure but a misaligned evolutionary relic allows us to reclaim our mental space, choosing to observe our thoughts with calm detachment. Instead of being consumed by the phantom dangers they create in our modern, safe world, we learn to stand as silent witnesses to the chaotic machinery of our own minds. This shift in perspective does not eliminate the ancient alarm, but it mutes its volume. We become architects of our own peace, building a sanctuary against the storms of anxiety. The mind, once a wild wilderness of reactive impulses, transforms into a garden of clarity. By acknowledging the relic, we strip it of its authority over our daily emotional lives. We stop running from tigers that exist only in the shadows of our own imagination. The physiological urgency fades, replaced by a steady, rhythmic pulse of rational, calm, deliberate thought. In this quiet space, we find the freedom to act with intention rather than reaction. The cycle of chronic stress begins to dissolve, leaving behind a resilient, grounded sense of self that no longer fears the rustling of leaves or the silence of a screen. We recognize that the prehistoric survival mechanism is merely a tool, not our master today. By observing the alarm, we realize it is just a ghost of a forgotten, dangerous era. We reclaim the present moment, anchoring ourselves firmly in the reality of our actual lives. The phantom threats evaporate under the steady gaze of logic, revealing a world of safety. We are no longer victims of our biology, but masters of our own internal narrative. Every breath becomes a testament to our ability to choose peace over the ancient panic. The rocking chair stops its frantic movement, and we step out into the calm light. The ancient alarm system remains, but it no longer dictates the rhythm of our hearts. We have learned to distinguish the shadow of a tiger from the reality of existence. This wisdom is the key to navigating the complexities of the modern, fast paced human experience. We move forward with grace, knowing that our minds are capable of profound, lasting change. The path to tranquility is paved with the simple, powerful act of questioning our fears. We embrace the stillness, finding strength in the silence between our most intrusive, anxious thoughts. The world is safe, and we are finally free to live within its quiet beauty. Our evolution continues, not in the wilderness, but in the quiet depths of our consciousness. We are the observers, the thinkers, and the masters of our own internal peaceful kingdom. The alarm has been silenced, and the true journey toward mental clarity has finally begun. We stand tall, unburdened by the weight of ghosts that have haunted us for millennia. Each thought is now a choice, filtered through the lens of our present tangible reality. We no longer mistake the flickering shadows on the wall for the presence of predators. The mind settles, finding its natural rhythm in the absence of constant unnecessary internal noise. We cultivate patience, waiting for facts rather than rushing toward the comfort of negative assumptions. The frantic pace of the survival instinct slows, allowing us to perceive the world clearly. We breathe deeply, grounding ourselves in the certainty of the current peaceful and safe moment. Fear loses its grip when we refuse to feed it with the fuel of overthinking. We observe the urge to worry, acknowledge its ancient purpose, and then gently let it go. The internal landscape shifts from a battlefield of survival to a sanctuary of calm reflection. We are the masters of our focus, directing our energy toward growth and meaningful action. The echoes of the past remain, but they no longer command our immediate reactive attention. We walk through our days with a newfound lightness, unburdened by the weight of ghosts. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice this deliberate, conscious, and calm way of being. The silence between our thoughts is where we find our deepest and most enduring strength. We are no longer driven by the shadows, but guided by the light of awareness. The ancient system is respected, understood, and finally placed in its proper, limited historical context. We move forward, embracing the beauty of a life lived in the clarity of now. The journey toward mental freedom is a continuous, gentle, and deeply rewarding personal daily practice. We have reclaimed our power, turning the tide against the instincts that once ruled us. The mind is finally at peace, resting in the quiet, steady truth of our existence.